Well, after many months of prodding and solidarity rallies, the president is now sure ready to run for second term through the declaration that will happen today.
Of course, and that will form the basis of our second interview segment, where our focus is on President Jonathan's declaration and talking about the slogan, Nigerians first, Nigerians always. And so all roads lead to the Eagle Square in Abuja, where the president will be doing the declaration.
Now, after many signatures have come out, 12-point-something million signatures from transformation ambassadors of Nigerians, and a lot of prodding that had gone on, the president was ab initio very hesitant, to come out and say whether he was running for office or not. But then, when you look at what has happened and the antecedents that have followed and the goodwill of Nigerians through those signatures, you can also say that, yes, it is about time we heard his voice at last.
Indeed. Well, his regular answers to journalists is that it is too early because his concentration now is on governance. But here we are today, he will be declaring his intentions to run for a second term in office.
Yes, indeed. And we also heard that in information from the voice of Chief Dan Olasi as well. Now, continuing with this process, we also want to say that it is also a priority to concentrate on governance and deliver on his transformation agenda and talking about the way forward, and of course to give him a platform to continue to do what he has started. Now, his record-breaking performance in office cannot be compared to any other, and that is also the voice of Nigerians speaking.
And so in our discussion segment today, the declaration of President Goodluck Jonathan, this Tuesday, his supporters have been arguing that, of course, it's a new slogan, which is on Nigerians first, Nigerians always.
So this morning we'll be taking up issues arising from the declaration of the president, the success of his transformation agenda, the desire for that continuation, and of course the need to put the nation first.
And so we are being joined on Kaakaki, the African Voice, this Tuesday morning by Senator Aniete Okon. He is the chairman, Media and Publicity Subcommittee. You're welcome. And
thank you very much.
And with him is Chief Fani-Kayode. He is a member of the Presidential Declaration Committee. You're welcome.
You're welcome, gentlemen. It's good to have you, and it's also a privilege. Now, let me start with Senator Okon here. But the souls of the students who lost yesterday, rest in peace, Perfect, because a lot of people are still very sentimental and perhaps sensitive to that subject. But if you look at that, a lot of people have also argued that perhaps it could also be a deliberate ploy to embarrass the president. Do you agree with this analysis of some people in the media?
Well, because the activities of the Boko Haram sect has not been rationalized and have not tended to lend itself to any form of normal human conduct, whether in protest or in affirmation of a particular social situation. One will not give them the credit of saying this was a deliberate and planned attempt to cast some shadow on the preparations and for the declaration of Mr. President today. Actually, it's supposed to have ignited some arguments within given quarters that because of the incident yesterday, the declaration should be postponed. We're talking about a particular painful incident in a series of painful and devastating incidents that this country has been made to suffer. And therefore, what better occasion could there be to reaffirm the fate of the country, reaffirm the fate of Nigerians in their country, and to reaffirm and reassure that all is not lost. That here we are embarking on a new phase of the journey towards ensuring a wholesome and fair nation, and that nothing will deter us. That's why we talk about this next phase of governance being about the people, placing Nigerians first and placing Nigerians above all other considerations all the time. So we regret and we mourn, actually, with the relations, parents, brothers, sisters, friends of these brilliant and promising children whose life was brought to a painful and most regrettable end yesterday. But in honor of them, we shall march ahead towards the establishment of an egalitarian and fair nation in which Nigerians will remain very, very proud.
Okay, Chief Fani, do you...
it's Chief Femi Fani-Kayode.
Chief Femi Fani-Kayode.
Made two mistakes now.
Okay,
so.
Fani-Kayode,
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. Do you, for instance, believe or with the argument that in some quarters that what happened in Potiskum yesterday was a deliberate ploy to embarrass the president? And if you do believe, why do you think there is a deliberate ploy to do that?
Well, first of all, I would like to align my thoughts and my views directly with the chairman of our committee, Senator Aniete Okon, who is one of the elder statesmen of Nigeria and a very great man, and I'm privileged to be here with him today and to be on the same committee as him, to be serving under him in that committee. Whatever the motives are for what happened yesterday, whatever they sought to achieve, as the distinguished senator has said, I think they failed, because if the idea was to bring the nation to a halt and to stop all business from continuing and to cause us to put our tails between our legs and run away and not proceed with the march forward for our country, well, I think they failed in that. And but it's important to establish the fact, in my view, that clearly whoever it is that was behind this group have no agenda other than to destroy Nigeria and to kill as many Nigerians as possible. It's been going on for quite some time now, and I believe that it's important for every right-thinking Nigerian to come together and oppose it. But most importantly, we shouldn't allow them to stop us from living our day-to-day lives and living in fear.
All right, now, a lot of people would actually align with your thoughts that this is more a psychological warfare than a physical one. Now, we should go back to the president and his need or his to come out to say whether he wanted to run or not. And then you also find out that he also said he wanted to concentrate on governance in some of the reports that came out through the media. Why now? A lot of people are asking, why now?
Because it's the appropriate time, and so many people have urged him to come out and to make his own intentions clear. I mean, it's very obvious that this is a consequence of a groundswell of opinion of many leaders, elders, and supporters from all over the country that want to have a sense of direction. That look, we need leadership, we need continuity, and we need to ensure that those that want to perhaps bomb their way to power and take power by all means are not able to do so. And what better way to stop them than for the president to come out and make a clear declaration as to what his intentions are. So I think it's the appropriate time, and I think it's the right and proper thing to do for him.
All right, Chief Okon, Senator Okon, do you agree with him in that frame of thought? Do you think it's the way to go?
Yes, we're dragging or getting to a point where you will say the constitutionally approved term is drawing to a close, and it's about time we place our scorecard on the table. Some time ago, I granted an interview, and I posited then that somewhere between July and October, it will be about enough. We would have covered enough grounds in the term of the president to look back and tick our greater achievements on a scorecard. I think that time is now. In spite of the murderous drawback that is represented by the heinous activities of this murderous sect, our country has continued to trudge forward, maybe not as fast as we would want it, but certainly and definitely on a clear path towards achieving a society that is wholesome, a society that encourages Nigerians to have faith in the country, that it is possible in their lifetimes to meet more than to go beyond the basic expectations of life.
Now, Senator, when you look at the number of Nigerians that have endorsed the president to run for a second term, I mean, it's a large number, 12.279 Nigerians.
At the last count, actually 17.5.
Interesting. That's very huge. Does this represent the voice of Nigerians? What would you say, or how would you evaluate the position of some Nigerians who believe that the president still needs to do a lot more in some areas, talking about security and the issue of corruption? What do you have to say about Nigerians with that position?
You've provided the answer by saying he needs to do a lot more. He needs to do a lot more with ample and legally endorsed time. You are, by your assertion, you accept that he's done quite a lot. All you're saying that there are those who hold on to say, hold positions that demand that a lot more be done. A lot more be done means there's some synonymity with time. We have come to the end of the constitutionally provided time. We are prepared to place our scorecard, as we'll do this morning before our teaming population. There is an air of expectancy about this declaration, because it will be a clear and unambiguous affirmation of a commitment, an irreversible commitment of placing the interest of Nigeria first. And what does that mean? It means that there will be a raising of the bar of expectations, the raising of a bar of provision of governance in its true meaning to Nigerians. That is why we say it will always be, for this new regime, for this new phase of our public life, it will be a pursuit of what is best for Nigerians, placing Nigerians first and considering Nigerians in all aspects of governance.
All right, let me come back to you, Chief Femi Kayode. When you look at America, the word, of course, yes, we can resonate. Everybody can remember that. And even other African countries have come up with their own slogan. Ghana said, always together as Ghanaians, forever Ghanaians. Now, somebody would have asked, why not my Nigeria, your Nigeria? You know, peace for Nigeria, yes, Nigeria. And you chose Nigerians first, Nigeria always. Why that particular theme?
Well, I think it's a wonderful theme, and it encapsulates all the other things that, whether it's yes we can, or Ghana first, or Ghana forever. I mean, those words that was chosen by this committee and this campaign, or this declaration committee, I think are very appropriate and encapsulates everything. And that's why they chose them. And you know, I don't think anything could have been more appropriate than that.
All right. Do you think that looking at all of the transformation agenda, you know, with what the president has been able to achieve in this short term, also, you know, rekindles that voice when you talk about Nigerians first? Because you look at the works he has done so far, people might say that also gave reasons.
It's. I mean, for me, just looking at it from a personal perspective, I think that Nigeria first is very important, and always, because look at the background. Look at what we're faced with in this country today. We're in the middle of a war. I mean, let's be very clear about this. There's no hiding it. We shouldn't run away from saying this. We're in the middle of a war now, full-scale military breach in the northeastern part of our country. Parts of our territory have been ceded and taken by the enemy, and this is an enemy that seeks to change our way of lives forever and kill every single Nigerian that does not agree with their own interpretation of what they claim to be their faith. And you also have a situation where young people in the armed forces, the security agencies, and ordinary students and innocent civilians are being slaughtered by these people. Now, if you consider that, what the majority of Nigerian people are saying in response to that is that we will move forward as a nation. We will continue to remain united, regardless of what they're doing to our people, regardless of what they're doing to our armed forces and to our children, regardless of their murders and their killings. We will continue to go forward as one nation. We'll put Nigeria first, we'll remain united, and we will resist them by showing them they cannot intimidate us or stop us from blossoming and growing as a nation. And I think that's what this is all about. So when we say Nigeria first, it is a rejection of the Boko Haram philosophy and the school of thought that says violence and division and strife and killing and pillage and murder, particularly the murder of innocent children, is the way forward to establish or to make your point or to create a new environment or a new nation. We are saying the Nigeria that we know, the Nigeria that we love, the Nigeria that our forefathers fought for and stood for must remain together. Even if we have our internal differences, we can still work them out. We can still talk about these things. But to say that people will come and stop us, bomb the president out of power, bomb all of us, kill our children, wipe us out. I mean, I have to just say this very quickly. There's a young lady I met who is an Air Force officer, Abegunde. She's an Air Force. This girl can't be more than 21, 22, ACW, Abegunde. And I met her on a flight. I was on a flight with the former Minister of State for Defense, and she was one of the Air Forces. And I asked this young girl, I said, look, are you ready to give your life? If you're sent to the war front in the Northeast, are you ready to die for your country? I mean, you're looking so wonderful in this beautiful uniform, such a pretty girl. I mean, would you really go to the war front if you asked? Without any hesitation. She looked at me and she said, but of course, that's what she signed up to do. That as a matter of fact, she's ready for it any day, any time. And it dawned on me at that point that these people that are going to the war front to defend the territorial integrity of this country and to fight the enemy are young people, and they're being killed every day. It's a tragedy yesterday what happened when these boys were killed, and the Chibok girls. But what about our armed forces as well? Young people are dying every day. So the least we can do as politicians and as people in the public space to say, look, Nigeria first, Nigeria forever, and their sacrifice will not be in vain. And I'm happy that people like Senator Aniete Okon are here to lead us and to guide us in this quest. They've been at it for years, and my prayer is that you continue to do this.
All right, Senator, let's look at the transformation agenda of the president. I mean, the president did say that the reason why he's declaring at this time is because he needed to concentrate on governance. Now, let's look at the specific transformation, areas of transformation so far that he's been able to bring forth, that the areas that he's been able to record some progress in the country.
Well, if you look at those areas of the transformation thrust of this government, it's all about the people of this country. In education, the establishment of new universities, in areas, in sections and divisions of the country where there was a crying, they will recognize the crying need for these institutions. And it is also part of the consideration of engaging the growing population of Nigerians. Children that are, naturally given to brilliance, and without creating institutions where their natural endowments will be honed in the best interest of this country. The obvious result from such disparities, from such deficiencies in social facilities, would have meant a horde of young people that could be deployed for evil, and also for the type of crimes we see swathing parts of our country. And then we come on to the general areas of social re-engineering. Because we're talking about transformation, it is that the institutions that are supposed to cater for Nigerians needed to be, upscaled, needed to be brought into acceptable and recognizable facilities for the people of this country. In transportation, the revival of the railways, in health, you see the ongoing pursuit of excellence and the need and the effort to match the available excellence in our medical fields with new facilities. You find, well, at this point we might also come in and mention the containment of the dreaded Ebola scourge, which was, again, a clear representation of the Nigerian spirit. There was a rallying round of all sectors and sections of this country. Nobody bothered whatever particular political colors each wore. It was about containing this biological attack on Nigerians, and everybody, whether you were deep blue, deep green, deep red in your political flags, we rallied around, and you found that there was symmetry. There was also synergy exhibited at all levels of governance, and Nigerians responded. Nobody was in a hurry beyond overlooking the simple act of making sure your hands were clean. I can go on and on mentioning this, but it is important to note that the transformation has been about the exertions of governance and government. And every act, every exertion of any political construction is about the people. And that's why we have continued to cry, the battle cry for this election is Nigerians first, Nigerians always.
All right, we will continue with the interview right after Pan-African World. We'll take the news and then we'll get back into the interview. Stay with us.
Welcome to the news desk. This is Pan-African News. The United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has described the killing of 49 people, including teachers and students, during an explosion at the senior secondary school in Potiskum, Yobe State, as outrageous. Several others also sustained serious injuries. The explosion occurred at the assembly ground of the school. One of the students is suspected to have carried out the suicide bombing. And President Goodluck Jonathan has condemned the murder of students by suicide bombers on Monday in Yobe State. The president assured the grieving parents and people of Yobe State that the federal government will ensure that all those responsible for the senseless murder of so many promising youngsters and the continuing acts of terrorism across the country are brought to justice and made to pay for their atrocious crimes. He also assured Nigerians that in spite of seeming setbacks, his administration remains fully committed to winning the war against insurgency and terrorism. Now, the Kenyan High Commissioner to Nigeria, Tom Amolo, says visionary leadership is the machinery to drive African countries into their rightful place in world affairs. Amolo was speaking in Abuja at an international lecture and prayer summit organized by the Center for African-Israeli Development. And the new German ambassador to Nigeria, Michael Zehner, says Nigeria remains a strategic partner in the quest to accelerate the socio-economic development of sub-Saharan Africa. The German envoy, who said this during a working visit to Interior Minister Abba Moro in Abuja on Monday, said it matters a lot in deciding the progress and stability of African nations. And that's Pan-African News on Kaakaki, the African Voice. We continue with our interview on Nigerians First, Nigerians Always. Please stay with us.
day, top of the morning, Monday to Friday, we are working round the clock to tell the African story. Kaakaki, the African voice.
Oh, thank you for staying with us. That was Pan-African World, and exactly you could see what's happening around the world, especially from Africa. Now let's get back into the interview. I think I'm going to go now to Chief Femi Fani-Kayode. You've listened to what Senator had to say, quite a lot. Now let's look at, ab initio 1999 when Nigeria military government was handed over to civilian government. We've seen the precedents of former leaders, and we've seen what the administrations were like. People will argue, especially political pundits, that for any president to come into power, he also inherits a lot of the damages from the past administration, plus all the problems that he might have to encounter. But we have seen the synergy in this administration, like he has also said. We have seen unity, we have seen voices come together. But do you think there's any other thing that you might want to look at and say, yes, this administration has done wonderfully well, in comparison to other administrations?
Well, it's a continuum, in my view. As far as I'm concerned, it's a continuum, and of course, you have to try to continue to go from strength to strength. Every single administration since 1999, even since 1960, had its own shortcomings and made its own fair share of errors and mistakes. But the most important thing is to continue. This is a PDP government. The PDP was in power in 1999, and the PDP is still in power today. It's just that we have a different president, a different flag bearer for the next election, and by God's grace, the PDP will still continue. I think one of the things that stands out for me is also the gains in the economy. Nigeria, has been described as labeled as the greatest economy, or the largest economy on the African continent, and that's a real plus for us. It's extraordinary given the fact that, like I said earlier, we are at war. And I think another one that stands out for me is the fact that we over the news, when you're reading the news, condemnations from all over the world about what happened yesterday. But as atrocious as that might appear to be, and it certainly is, it's a heinous crime, and these people are nothing but beasts. But we also have to remember that a few months ago, about a year ago, churches and mosques were being bombed here in Abuja and in Kaduna, in Niger State, in Kanu, and so on and so forth. And the war was brought right to our doorstep in the capital of this nation. Well, that was absolutely terrible. The good news is that it's been pushed away to a certain part of the country. It's being contained there. And now the next phase of this war, I'm sure, is to push these people out of the northeast as well. And our armed forces are doing a great job in that. So the war against terrorism is being fought vigorously by this administration, despite the fact that the sort of things that happened yesterday happened. It's unfortunate as it is, but we mustn't lose sight of the fact that we are making progress. Not too long ago, people were found going to places like Abia State, Imo State, with bombs, and people were caught planting bombs in all these places, even the southwest. But we're not hearing about that, and we're not seeing that anymore. Why? Because our security agencies, the NSA's office, and so on and so forth, have risen to the occasion and are doing a reasonably good job now. But where you have a situation where children will go into a school and put bombs on themselves and become suicide bombers overnight, and women are suicide bombers, then the nature of what we're dealing with is something that is we've never had to deal with before in the history of this country. And I think by and large, we've remained united and committed to fighting that war, and that's because this government has begun to understand the importance of fighting it vigorously. Many of us called for them to do this at a much earlier stage. Eventually they chose to do so. Now it's a vigorous fight, and we must join forces with the government to ensure that we win the war.
Okay, now, Senator, let's go back to the theme Nigerians first, Nigerians always. Now, how can political leaders, talking about leaders in other political parties, for instance, and Nigerians, adopt this slogan and, of course, carry it to the last, make sure that it's implemented, throw more light on what the thing actually means for people to really understand what their responsibility is at this time?
Whichever way you want to look at this, new mantra for us. It fits. First, it's a battle cry against poverty. Second, it is a battle cry about ensuring that Nigerians know that this government is all about themselves. We believe that time and the maturization of the goals that are clearly defined by this new war, battle cry about the shortcomings of governance, will ensure and will encourage, it will incite other political leaders to find variants to our own position. As in all human activity, you do not expect unanimity. But the fact remains that in all political efforts and exertions, the goal is about using the enormous energy and power that is available in the country for the good of the people of the country. We do not want to wait for the other political parties. We want to go by setting the example of the reality of our capacity to confront the shortcomings of our society. And that is why you find that a general approval and a rekindling of faith in the possibilities of governance. And our state governments all over the country have demonstrated that, yes, it is possible for governments to deliver on promises. It is possible for those entrusted with the mandates of the people to serve the people. All over the country, you can look at what you would call the cash-strapped economies in Ebonyi and Ebonyi State and the achievement of that government. Look at what we've achieved in Jigawa. Look at what we are achieving in other major parts of this country that are essentially governed by the PDP. I don't want to talk about my state, Akwa Ibom, and the great strides that have been achieved there. It is not by none other than the government led by the PDP. And it is clear that in serving the people, as has been demonstrated in a number of states where you find the PDP holding sway, the driving force has been the love of those in leadership for their people.
Indeed. Just before we go, Chief Femi, when you look at Africa, Africa is traditionally, a lot of people would argue, would say that Africa is the cradle of great leadership. And we saw what happened in Burkina Faso and the people and the uprising. And the general of that armed forces said something about Nigeria. He was the one that actually took power. He said, let Nigerians forgive their leaders of their excesses and concentrate their energies on their power as a people. And that's a very strong statement. Now, as we see this declaration come out today, as we see the president come out, what is your message to Nigerians, especially with this theme, Nigerians first, Nigerians always?
Well, first of all, for me, this theme is a very powerful one, like I said earlier. But let me also say this. It acts as a rejection to those on the other party in the APC that objected to the fact that Boko Haram was proscribed 1 year ago, and they said it was an unjust thing for the federal government to proscribe Boko Haram. That is what the Lai Mohammed, spokesman of the APC, said at the time, 1 year ago. Nigeria, first and foremost, is a rejection of that philosophy and that belief. Nigeria, first and foremost, is a rejection of the belief of people like General Muhammadu Buhari, who said an attack on Boko Haram 1 year ago is an attack on the North. This theme that we've brought up and we've come up with is a rejection of that philosophy, because the North is not Boko Haram and Boko Haram does not represent the North. It's also a rejection of the philosophy that says that we shall make the country ungovernable if Goodluck Jonathan decides to continue in power in 2015 or 2011. Our theme is a rejection of that philosophy. It encapsulates all the virtues of the Nigerian and of our people, all the goodness of our people, and it also encapsulates the love of God for our country. Nigeria, first and foremost, says it all. And that's how we must join hands and move our country forward as one people. Reject division, reject the politics of religion, which unfortunately the other side has introduced into our politics now. The APC has introduced it into our politics. Reject strife, reject tension and division, and reject anything that is evil. And certainly reject Boko Haram and those that are behind and covertly supporting Boko Haram. We put Nigeria first. It represents a rejection of all those things. And that's why we're in PDP. That's why we're supporting this president.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief and Senator, for sharing your thoughts with us. This morning, we've been taking a look at the President Jonathan's declaration with the saying today he will be formally introducing a new theme of his administration, which is Nigerians first, Nigerians always. And of course, all roads lead to the Eagle Square today. We've been speaking with Chief Fani-Kayode, a member of the Presidential Declaration Committee, and he's been joined by Senator Aniete Okon. He is the chairman, Media Publicity Subcommittee of the Presidential Declaration Committee. Be nice having you join us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right, we take a break and we'll be right back with newspaper review. And Adora is standing by to bring you newspaper review. Please join us again.